Coach, hey, thanks for joining me today on this Simple Coach to Coach interview. It is great finally connecting. I know it's been a hectic summer for you, camps and whatnot, so do appreciate you carving out some time today, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Hey, thanks again for having me. Glad to talk soccer.
All right, Coach, so I'm just going to throw this out there, and granted, we're like 45 days away from preseason, but we haven't spoken since. So I just wanted to get your take on your in the 2023 season. How do you think it went? Probably more importantly, what I'm more interested in learning about is what were the takeaways from the season that you're looking to fix, improve, build upon for 2024? That was a boatload of stuff in there, so if we have
Yeah,
to break it down, that's fine.
yeah. No, I'll try to crystallize a few things from that. But yeah, it's been a while, so a lot of time to evaluate and kind of turning the page, obviously, to this year. But I did actually look recently online at our results and just kind of looking. Okay, the first 5 games, how many goals did we concede? And what opponents were we playing and how did that go? And so I did reflect on some things even yesterday. But I would say the season was a new experience for us with playing some we've played a few we've played like one a year, maybe two a year in the last 3 years of like what I would consider national caliber teams. But this last season we played um, 3 or 4 of them, so that was a new level for us, and that was fun. I mean, that was you were tested in those games, and we were up 3-1 against the sixth ranked team in the country, and we thought that was going to be sort of a groundbreaking result. Ended up we drew the game 3-3. And so we were close, but we didn't get that big win that we were looking for. But all in all, the team last year was good to work with. We had an interesting combination of players. We had some weaknesses, I think. We had a little bit of depth from some young guys, and we had this game model that we were trying to play with and just really have a little bit more of a structure. Um, and I think it was good in some ways, but still too vague in some other ways. So trying to crystallize that, make it a little bit more clear without being too stringent on the players' freedom and their ability to make decisions and play freely. So there's that balance that we're trying to seek this year that I don't think we had last year. We had good ideas. We had some common language that emerged, but not enough. And so that's probably the biggest thing I'm trying to add to this year over the summer, preparing for the fall.
Mm-hmm. Hey, what was your graduating class like? Was it big, sizable, or little?
It was a big group of players, and then some players not returning due to different
Mm-hmm.
reasons, academic and things like that. But and there was some quality. We lost some quality. It's going to be hard to replace some of the players that graduated. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would say in general the core returns in general. So yeah, we lost some pieces that we're going to have to fill. I think we filled some of them with some different
Mm-hmm.
guys returning and getting better, some transfer options, and some new freshmen who are ready to play. But yeah, it'll be a I'm very like I think there's more unknowns for this year than in the last several years. I think that's how I'm
Right.
looking at it.
Yeah, yeah. That's going to happen, right? So often, every couple of years, 3 years, it ends up being like whole class goes through, it's done outstanding, and then they're gone. It's like, well, what do we do now, right? Like it's all right. So I do have to say the 3 teams that you played that were nationally ranked: Lebanon Valley, Franklin and Marshall, and Messiah. I, I'm just curious, like, what were your expectations going into those games, right? I mean, like you said, it's not that you don't play them, but 3 of them is a pretty hefty
Yeah.
challenge. So I was just curious, what were your thoughts going into them? Were you just kind of like, hey, we got nothing to lose, or was it were you more ambitious than that?
Um, I would say for yeah, that definitely the mentality was nothing to lose. That was 100% the mentality. Um, we wanted to compete with those programs and see what would happen if we competed from the first whistle. And so, um, yeah, I think the first one was Lebanon Valley. So there was a little bit more of a clear objective in that match because they had a
Mm-hmm.
guy. All American, first team All American, I believe. He was on a streak of goals leading up to our match, and so we were like, all right, we know we got to limit him. We have to limit him. He's scoring so many goals. So we had some. We did a man marking system on him in the first half, which was very unusual for me, not something I like to do. So that was like, all right, can we execute this? We trained for it. We kind of executed it. I mean, he didn't score, so I guess it worked, but we didn't win the game. So did it really work? I don't know. But that was a good moment for us, a good game, a good stepping stone. They were all over us. They were better than we were, but we competed really well. And then F&M, I think, was next. We struggled first half, second half, made some adjustments, and really competed second half. And that ended up, I think, being a little bit of a good 45-minute period of time for our program to be able to play toe to toe with them for 45
Mm-hmm.
minutes. And we did lose the game again, but like it was not a one sided affair the whole game. So that I felt
Mm-hmm.
like we took one step there. Then Messiah was, that's the big one. That's number one in the nation. We're playing at their field. Even to be on that field was awesome to play them because that's a legendary facility. Even in all
Yeah,
levels of soccer, they packed their facility, and it was
yeah.
a special opportunity. We suffered some in that game, but we were able to compete for a few stretches. And again,
Yeah.
that's the take. But yeah, the goal is to beat those teams, and so you're never going to beat them unless you start playing them consistently. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a good step to get those guys on the schedule.
Do, do you who do you have this year that you think is there anybody? Oh, you're playing opening with Franklin and Marshall again.
Yep.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Good
And
opener there.
Messiah. Wow. I
Yeah.
might have to make it out your way for that
Yeah.
for one of those games. Those look fun.
Yeah. It's going to be cool. It's going to be fun. And we got
Yeah.
Alvernia.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would add
Go
them
ahead.
in that conversation too. Alvernia has gotten really
Mm-hmm.
good. They don't lose very much. They're a tough one to play, and so that's another one. Lebanon Valley, we scrimmage them, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have a tough scrimmage for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be a good schedule.
I was just recently at Lebanon Valley walking around and doing my thing, and what a great place for a game, right? I could only imagine. I was there, nobody was there, but I could just envision what a great
Beautiful.
field to play on. Beautiful place. Co- Coach, this is something not related to the game. Well, it is related to the game, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on it. All this stuff with the NCAA and um, um, the settlement with the NCAA, NIL, all that kind of stuff. Do you? And the probably the most important thing is the cap on rosters that is soon to go into effect or is in effect. Do you anticipate anything like I don't want to say any players coming your way, or have you seen anything that may lead? Like I said, I think there's going to be players looking for teams. So I'm just curious if it's something that you've experienced or you're hearing about or have thoughts on.
Oh man. Well, I think like so the COVID year was the last year for players to have
Mm-hmm.
that extra year from COVID was this past year. So I'm actually anticipating the transfer portal madness kind of slowing down a little bit. So all the grad transfers will be eliminated, basically from the COVID, unless there's like an injury, injury red shirt, um, or something like that. So I kind of think it might slow down a little bit. But yeah, absolutely. If there's a guy he's aiming at the Division 1 level, and then there's caps on rosters, I can't see them like it's always a delay. Like so, if anything hits D1 first, it'll be a delay until it gets to D3 if it even does.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, maybe I think maybe There and LBC has recently adjusted academic requirements a little bit to allow for more flexibility for transfers.
Mm,
So that's going to hopefully help us even this year
yeah,
with the play we're still working on. So,
yeah,
but yeah, I think it could. I don't know. I'm not really banking on that necessarily.
right, right. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'm not saying immediate, but I'm just it's this stuff right, just evolves so quickly, and saw how quick the transfer portal became a thing, right? I mean, it's always been a thing, but to the extent that it became one, it just sort of, and so I'm just wondering if it's not something that we already need to be keeping an eye on um, um, going forward. So, so for 2024 for this upcoming season, when do you come in? When do you report?
August 16th.
So do you need me there the 16th, or you want me to show up there 17th in the morning for training?
Um, oh, for the 2 mile run, the 17th. Were you going to do
Yeah.
that one?
No,
Because we
okay,
got to.
afternoon.
Okay. All right.
Afternoon.
That's fine.
I'll be there in the
That'll
afternoon.
work.
um,
7 a.m.
so what are your I'm just curious, like for that preseason, what do you think are the things that you're going to be really focused in on um, to get tuned up for August 30th against Franklin and Marshall?
So it's great timing on the question because yesterday I put a couple hours into our preseason schedule and started mapping out some general themes of sessions. And so, you could I've done a kind of a mixed bag in the past of different themes and topics to focus on. This year, I'm going to go like all defending for the first 3 days, and we're going to try to get a hold of our defending and how we're going to press, and also in a midfield and lower block shape and compactness, and just defending as a group, and just really the communication on that, and even some of the 1v1 defending, and just having guys be well trained in those repetitions. And so, yeah, so I think I'll look at it from a out of possession standpoint first, and then an in possession standpoint with what we're trying to do and how we're trying to create chances and build up through the midfield and get into the attacking third and the final third. So that's a little bit of probably how I'll do it. And we definitely are going to try to have more specific themes this year. Last year, I experimented with a little bit of a philosophy where it was a little bit more um, player players' decisions at the forefront, and I think that just ended up being a little bit too wide open. In other words, as long as every session had, in possession, out of possession, transition moments, pressing defensively, and then going at goal at big goals. Like I kind of use that as my framework. This year, it's going to be more specific, in as far as what I want to focus
Mm-hmm.
on and what we want to try to get across. So, if that answers your question, I definitely think we'll
Right.
approach things a little differently.
All right, so you made it to the semis of the United East. What, the Volt Conference? Volt. That's where you guys are, right? Volt Conference.
Yeah,
Did
the division. Yep.
like yeah? What or Volt Division? Yeah. What's your feeling on the conference? Do you think you have what it takes to get farther to get to the
Hmm.
finals?
Yeah, I do. I genuinely do. Even like I said though, like there's still questions. There's some unknowns on, man, how are we going to be in this area, this position group? How is that going to be for us? Like we lost these players, they were key. We got these guys, we think they're good, but maybe they're unproven. We have these guys, developing, and they might be there, starting and playing a lot of minutes. I don't know. So despite the unknowns, so last year, Penn State Harrisburg has been the thorn in our side, and they're
Yeah.
they're a good team and a good program, and we haven't beaten them, and so last year though was the first year in the regular season we outplayed them for, I would say, more than half of the game. Um, we still lost the game, so the game's about results, right? But we felt like, okay, we took a step in that moment. It was a 1 goal game. It was really close. Like we had chances that we could have scored. they probably had some too that they should have scored. So I do think we gained some confidence. Then the playoff match, there was a slow start for us that they hurt us and made us pay for some things. But then we stormed back and then we made it a game and we again lost by 1 goal. It was super tight down the stretch. But I don't know. I think we have what it takes to compete with them and others. But they'll still be a top team in the conference. St. Mary's will be a top team. A couple teams from the other division because now it's all one group. The two divisions are now merged.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a few teams on the other side that are also going to be in the running there, I'm sure. So I do think we can get further. It's going to be how we come together, how we execute, and all those fun things.
It, are you worried about goals?
I'm actually not too worried about goals because we return most of our goal scorers. And most of our, like, I would say, I don't know, 80% of the goals from last year are returners. So we've got some guys who can score. And midfield wise is probably a little bit of where I wonder how we'll be. How is our midfield play going to be? Back line, we have some guys that are going to be ready to step in, but maybe they're a bit inexperienced, but they have some talent and some ability that we see that we think will help us. So there's some questions there a little bit. But goals wise is really interesting. We return most of our goals from last year, which is a good thing to have.
Mm-hmm. That's a luxury. That's a luxury to have.
Yeah.
That actually then, because I was just putting on my thinking cap, and as you said, you were going to spend the beginning of your preseason defensively on a defensive structure, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. It could be because you have full confidence in your goal scoring abilities, or you don't think you're going to be getting the goals, and so you better be tight in the back, right? Like, I think those are the two. And I was just kind of like trying to game that out. Like, what could that be?
Right.
I know we talked about the last time you sort of wanted to implement a game model for the program, and I don't want to say have you made progress, but is it something that's are you at a point where it's sort of well understood that this is how you're going to play, and that the players that are part of the program understand that already, or is that still a work in progress? If that made sense, that question.
It does make sense. Yes, in general, I think there's an understanding of we want to play this way with these main qualities present in every situation. However, that this goes back to our scheduling. Like, one coach I know said, if you're the better team, if you're better, you press the opponent all game. If you're not as good, then you sit back and absorb pressure and you don't let yourself be exposed or open. And that's a generalization, but we all understand that in the soccer world. So then what if you're playing one game where you are way more superior talent-wise, and then you go play the number one team in the country the next week? Like, can I afford not to adjust the shape of the team and the structure and just say we're going to play the same way, our same style, both games? I don't think so. I think that's where coaching comes in, and adjustments and matchups matter. So within the game model, there has to be a level of flexibility. Our players would probably say they want to do the same thing just for simplicity's sake every time. And I'm like, we argue about that a little bit. Like, okay, well then I could schedule the same type of opponent every single game, which is maybe what some programs do. It's nothing wrong with that, but yeah, that's kind of the deeper philosophy in your question, I think that I'm getting to.
Yeah. Oh, that's very true. Is like, to what degree do you have the flexibility to adjust? I always said the one thing, and again, I always hit the easy button, so you'll forgive me, but for the games, for a lot of the games I watch, and the teams that I see over a season, it's very hard to discern differences in play from one game to the next. That is by design rather than by the game forcing them to be a certain way. And I'm always struck by that, like how, and it must be difficult, right? Again, and I just think time, right? Like, because you don't have the time to sort of go, okay, we played this way for this game. Our next game, which is in a day, right? Like, you don't have the time to make those types of adjustments. But I could see why there would be a value in that, right? And why it's probably so difficult to do.
Yeah, it's the nature of the Division III season, as you know, so compressed, and it is hard.
Yeah.
You're just like on to the next one, and then you got to recover in there too. Like, can you
Yeah.
on the recovery day with a match 2 days later, can you change your tactical setup, and is that enough time for the players to get it? It's tough. It's a really hard. It's a hard line to walk that. Yeah.
Yeah, now you got me thinking about that. Like, how would you do that? Like, I don't even know how you would go about doing that unless you come up with a way in which you're playing a defensive system that maybe aside from a player or two is no different than your offensive system, right? So if you're 4-3-3 on the attack, hey, we're going to a 4-4-2 because we're defending, something like that. I don't know. I don't know how you would do that. All right, I'll figure it out. What do you have you? I mean, because we're close now. Have you outlined any goals for 2024 yet, or do you do what I hear a lot of coaches do, which is like it's all in the players' hands, and they'll be the ones that hammer those out?
I mean, 100%. The goal is to win the conference. There's no doubt about that. That's the goal. That's the aim. That's what we're going to try to do. But what can you control? You can control the effort and the execution and intensity every day in training. So like, just being at our best every day. Like we say that all the time. And this year our theme is prove it. And so like, yeah, it's a process. We've taken steps forward. We've attacked different types of schedules now, and like that's normal now. So let's keep it normal. Let's take those big opportunities and the top teams in D3, and let's go after them and know that we're the underdog in those situations, but like we're expecting to compete every single time in those games. And so yeah, like that's it. Can we be at our best more every single minute, as much as possible? And that's big. That is big on the players and the leadership in the program. Are they leading that and pursuing and modeling and demanding that? Yeah, it's a lot, but that would be our goal, to win the conference. I mean, you could look back last year, we beat the team that won the conference in the regular season. We beat them 1-0. Yeah. So you could say, now they had more of the ball and more chances, no doubt. We got a bit fortunate, no doubt. But hey, it's a crazy game. 1-0 can happen to the best teams in the world. They can lose those games to maybe lesser opponents. So, yeah, that's the goal, and control what we can control in the process.
How's the conference work this year? Where I don't know, what is it, like 15? I don't know if it's 15 is the number, but it's a large number for a standard conference. Is it 15, 16?
Yeah, I think it's, you got to count there. I'm not sure.
10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So how's that gonna play out? Is it, you can't play all 16, obviously, right? You're going to play a subset, from what I can tell from your schedule. But then,
yep.
Do they just rank it based on your results, or?
Yeah. That there was a fair amount of disagreement with that, because some coaches were like, we have to play all the teams so that everyone now could be objectively ranked, because you could end up, how they sorted it, you could end up playing 4 of the bottom, or 7 of the bottom teams. Yeah. The conference, and maybe not play any of the top 3 teams. And I think they did a decent job of trying to balance it. But, my counterpoint would be like, you want to have the flexibility to play a tough non-conference schedule too. So, I'm fine with how they did it. But yeah, there'll be a first round and then a quarterfinal, semi, and then a final. So it'll be, I think, I guess what that eight teams make it. Then I guess 8 teams make
Eight
the
teams
playoffs.
make it. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and so first, quarter, semi, and final, and but yeah, they'll just rank everyone based on their record, their points.
Yeah. You can, like, if you have any I mean this respectfully, right? If you have any aspiration beyond your conference, you cannot play every single team in your conference. It just not. It is.
Right.
It is not good, healthy for you as a program. That's just my opinion. Half of them,
Yeah.
sure. Like, you want to play 8, 7, okay, I buy that. 9 game, okay, but you just can't do that. How are you gonna? You can't measure yourself. You would never know. And I'm assuming, right? You have an automatic qualifier if you win the conference, right? In AQ. So you
Yeah.
would have no sense as to how you're going to perform outside of that if you just played your
Yeah.
conference teams. Again, that's
I agree.
my
You got to be
opinion.
tested. And yep, no, you're
Yeah.
right. I think you're right. The correct opinion, I think. So, like this year in baseball, actually, we just had it where we got 2 bids from our conference. We had 2 teams
Mm-hmm.
that performed really well, and one team won the conference, and the team that lost had the at large, and it was well deserved. And
Mm-hmm.
but that is extreme. That might have been the only time it's ever happened. I think so. Yeah, you
Yeah.
want to win the conference to punch your ticket. But you want to be tested out of conference to know what those games are
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
you get there.
That 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 leads me to this question for you. Have you given much thought around the whole pairwise thing? How they're going to redo the rankings and who qualifies for the tournament? I mean, are you in tune to that discussion? And what are your thoughts?
Yep, I read the documents that they sent out, and some of the rationale behind, and the pros and cons. I think, and I've talked to a few people about it, but I haven't dove deep into that. Um, where
Mm-hmm.
we are generally considering ourselves to be a 1 bid conference, and so the
Yeah,
exception, like
yeah,
I said, was just baseball there. So yeah, um, and I guess it could. I don't know. Like you could set it up to try to win more games, which I think somehow might help. But there's still a strength of schedule component to it, so you still have to consider that.
yeah,
So it's an
yeah,
interesting move from the NCAA.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think. Well, I don't even know where it's going to lead, but um, I think the higher you get up in the rankings, right? I think it becomes a little bit more perilous. I think
Yeah,
if you're one of the top 20 teams, I don't want to say that you were all but guaranteed to get in one way or the other if you had the right strength of schedule. I'm not sure that's guaranteed anymore, and I think
right.
that's a real thing to look at. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are teams that are out, um, that you would have thought, no, this team should be in. I bet you that we'll have that debate and once tournament rolls around. I just think it's natural.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
what's your recruiting class look like? How did that go for you?
Oh wow, that's a good discussion. It's so I think it's a good group. 100% love the group that we have coming in. There's a variety of different backgrounds and locations represented. There's a couple international players. There's a couple transfers. So there's a mixed group of players coming in that we think will help us. They're all great fits for our program and for our college. So really excited about the culture with this group that's going to go forward, or help the team to continue to go forward. Um, but that being said, like this year I went to Oklahoma to recruit. My assistant coach and I went to Phoenix to recruit at the MLS Next
Wow.
showcase out there. And my assistant Joe, he flew to Mexico to a event to recruit. So we went
Mm-hmm.
big time as far as like way more travel than we normally would do, I would say. And that's in addition to the local regional showcases that we
Right.
did. All we kind of did all the big ones around here, So,
Yeah.
um, so with that being said, we went after a higher level player, and so I would say, my opinion, the top 5 to 7 players that we pursued aggressively, we were
Mm-hmm.
in their top 2 as far as a list of school, but all of them chose other options.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
Yep. And the other options were Division II scholarship level, and then
Mm-hmm.
also we lost 2 guys. Now I don't know that I can't say that for the one player that we lost to Messiah that we were in his top 2. I know for the other
Mm-hmm.
player that we were. So 2 guys went to Messiah that we had pursued pretty hard, very hard, and
Mm-hmm.
then the other 4 to 5 players all chose Division II scholarship opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Okay.
mean, the positive is like we still got a good group of players, but and also we went after a higher level of talent that had we
Mm-hmm.
had turned a couple of those guys and got them, then they're probably gonna help us right away, and be
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
additions. So I wouldn't do it differently. Looking back, I think we did all the right things, and just that's the way it went. And
Mm-hmm.
maintain good relationships with those guys. Sometimes they come back and change their minds after a year or two. That's
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, good group of players.
Do you, uh, can I ask? Is this? Are you going to keep doing this? Like pursue these higher level players, knowing that you're
Mhm.
right. Like
Yeah.
there's no guarantee of success, but if you get them, you're definitely in a better spot.
Yeah, the plan is to keep doing that, and part of that is the staff that we now have that has some willingness and ability to travel more.
Mm-hmm.
The budget we have now is helping us. It's a better budget than we've had before. So
Mm-hmm.
for recruiting, so yeah, that's the plan, is to keep doing it. But also, like,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't if 5 years ago I probably wouldn't, because it would keep me up at night when I got the rejection. But now it doesn't. I got too much other stuff in life to worry about that, so I can sleep well, even if the
Yeah.
player says no.
Yeah. You're you're looking good.
Happens.
You're looking well rested. So I gotta believe, right? Like you're able to do that. Yeah, I think that would be my hard part. Like I hate to lose, and I think I would that would wear me. I'd totally see that. Like if somebody told me no, I think I would go off in a fit of rage. Like what? I wouldn't care if they're like, oh, I just got a call from Real Madrid and they want to sign me to their B team for the next 2 years. And I'd be like,
Yeah,
what? Are you kidding me? How stupid can you be? Like, yeah, I think I would.
yeah,
Anyhow. Um,
it's the nature of it.
yeah, yeah. All right, Coach. Hey, thank you very much for this. Really do appreciate it. I'm definitely going to try to make it out to one of your games. I loved your stadium. I loved when I was there. And I don't know if it was the assistant athletic director who couldn't have been nicer.
Yep.
I did go looking for you, but you weren't around. So which shocked me because you should have known I was coming to town and um,
I'll take that.
yeah. Get,
No, hat,
get on
hat
that
looks
next
good.
time.
I like the hat.
Oh, thank you, thank you. What a great place. Again, I don't know what I go in with so many different ideas about schools when I go visit them, and it was another one where I was kind of shocked, like, oh wow, look at this place. Yeah, really, really, really beautiful, really, and like I said, your stadium is, I mean, top of the tops, right? Like it's hard not to
Thank
find a better place to play. So,
Very thankful for that. Yeah.
really wish you the best this fall. I'll be watching. Hopefully, I'll be cheering from the sideline at one point. Wish you all the luck, you and your men, and hope you have an outstanding season.
Thank you. Thanks for what you do, and I'll be tracking with all your coverage this fall as it gets ramped up in a month. So appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to get all the energy, like conserve all this energy, and then just be like, I'm already itching though. I'll be honest with you. I feel like, preseason, like I can't.
Well, the
Found
Euros
this summer soccer. No, it just got to be a little bit of a bore for me. I don't know. It just was not. I was not in tune to it this year. Just sort of. and so I'm just looking forward to college again. Like it's in a weird way. I don't know. So anyhow, Coach,
Cool.
We'll be in touch. Thanks again, and appreciate the time.
Thank you. Take care.